The lights inside the America's Got Talent theater dim gradually, settling the buzzing audience into a slow hush. A soft blue glow washes over the stage as the iconic AGT logo gleams behind closed curtains. The atmosphere is electric, part excitement, part skepticism, because the next contestant hasn't been previewed, teased, or hyped. The audience doesn't know who's walking out next. The judges don't know either. Then, with a gentle mechanical hum, the curtains begin to part. A single figure steps forward. He walks slowly, almost cautiously, as though he isn't entirely convinced he belongs on one of the world's biggest stages. Dressed in a simple, modest Elvis-inspired outfit, not flashy, not overdone, just clean and respectful, he immediately stands out, not because of extravagance, but because of the quiet, humble aura that surrounds him. He isn't the kind of performer who comes out bursting with confidence. Instead, he radiates sincerity, a kind of gentle nervousness that makes the audience lean in, curious. The man takes a moment to breathe, his eyes scanning the huge theater. The audience is packed, their faces excited, expectant. He takes another step, then another, until he reaches his mark at the center of the stage. A faint shimmer reflects off his neatly polished shoes. He adjusts the small mic clipped to his shirt, trying not to let his hands tremble. Behind the judge's desk, Simon Cowell shifts his weight, glancing up with mild interest. Simon's expression is the same one everyone recognizes, the prove-it look. Sofia Vergara flashes a warm smile, always ready to encourage new talent. Howie Mandel sits upright, looking intrigued. Heidi Klum tilts her head playfully, studying the contestant with gentle curiosity. The host, positioned backstage, watches closely, sensing a story but unsure what kind. A moment passes, too quiet, too long, and Simon decides to break it. "Hello," Simon says, his tone neutral but polite. "Welcome to America's Got Talent. What's your name?" The contestant swallows, steps closer to the mic, and answers with a soft, respectful tone. "My name is," he says, giving his full name, then follows immediately with, "I'm from the Philippines." The reaction is immediate. The audience cheers, not wildly but warmly. There's an undeniable pride that ripples through the air. Even Simon's eyebrow lifts, ever so slightly. The Filipino community has produced some incredible singers before. Expectations rise, but so does pressure. "Great to have you here," Heidi adds with a bright smile. "And what will you be doing for us today?" The man hesitates. For a second, it seems like he isn't sure whether to reveal it. Maybe he's afraid it will sound cliché. Maybe he knows how many people try to cover Elvis. But he squares his shoulders and says it anyway. "I'll be singing an Elvis Presley song." A wave of murmurs sweeps through the theater. Some audience members exchange looks. Another Elvis impersonation? Others lean forward. Can he actually pull it off? A few skeptics cross their arms, expecting the usual, forced impersonation, overdone vibrato, a gimmick. Simon's eyes narrow slightly. Elvis impersonations are hit or miss on AGT, mostly miss. But there's something in the man's presence that's different. Something real. Something quiet but strong. Sophia smiles encouragingly. "Why Elvis?" she asks. The contestant takes a breath, his voice trembling just a little. "Elvis has been my inspiration since I was little," he explains. "But I'm not trying to be him. I just want to share my voice, the way I feel it." There's a sincere honesty in his words that captures the room. For the first time, a few skeptical audience members uncross their arms. The judges soften. The moment shifts from proving something to sharing something. Simon nods thoughtfully. "All right," he says, leaning back. "Let's hear it." But before the music starts, there is another moment, silent, unspoken, powerful. The Filipino Elvis closes his eyes. He's not just preparing to sing. He's grounding himself. He's remembering why he's here. His family back home who believes in him, the years of singing in small gatherings, karaoke nights, and community events, the sacrifices, the dream, the doubt, the hope. He opens his eyes again, calmer now, more focused. The spotlight fully illuminates him, highlighting the slight glimmer of sweat on his forehead, the gentle curve of nerves in his smile, and the subtle tremble in his fingers. The vast theater, with its thousands of lights staring down like stars, seems impossibly huge. But he doesn't shrink away. Not this time. The first soft guitar chord of the instrumental swells through the speakers. The audience collectively inhales. The judges lean in. The Filipino Elvis stands perfectly still, poised at the edge of something life-changing. His chest rises with a deep breath. His eyes soften as he lets the music settle inside him. You can feel it. Something powerful is about to happen. Not because of the outfit, not because he's doing Elvis, but because of the raw authenticity pouring out of him in this quiet moment. The room falls into absolute stillness. Not a whisper, not a cough, the kind of silence that only exists when thousands of people are waiting for one voice to begin. He lifts the mic slightly. His lips part, and just before the first note leaves his mouth, the entire AGT theater is frozen, caught between doubt and anticipation, skepticism and hope, ready to witness whether this quiet Filipino performer is about to deliver something unforgettable or fade into another forgettable audition. But deep in his eyes there's a spark, a quiet fire, a fire that tells the world, he didn't come here to imitate the king, he came here to show them the heart behind the voice. The first soft strum of the guitar echoes across the arena, warm and nostalgic, instantly transporting everyone back to an era of vinyl records, leather shoes, and slow-dancing romances. It's the kind of opening that demands honesty from a performer, because Elvis is not just a voice, he's an emotion, a legacy, a standard. The Filipino Elvis stands still for a moment, letting the sound settle into his bones. His fingers relax, his breathing steadies. And then, finally, he begins. The first note escapes his lips like silk. It's smooth, rich, warm, and shockingly authentic. The audience reacts instantly. Gasps ripple across the theater. A woman in the front row puts a hand to her chest. A few heads snap upward, eyes widening. People who were slouching straighten. People who were whispering stop mid-sentence. The sound coming from this humble, nervous Filipino performer is not just a cover. It's a revelation. Sofia Vergara, who had been smiling politely moments before, suddenly leans forward, eyebrows shooting up in surprise. Her hand rises to her mouth as if to say, "Did I really just hear that?" Heidi Klum's eyes widen with pure delight. She turns to Sofia, pointing at the contestant with a kind of amazed disbelief. But the most telling reaction is Simon Cowell's, the man who has heard thousands of singers, the man who rarely shows emotion until he's truly impressed. His eyes snap up, his posture changes. He leans in, hands clasped, analyzing every vibration in the singer's voice. There is no smile, not yet, but there is interest, genuine interest. The Filipino Elvis continues, each note pouring out with a rare blend of confidence and vulnerability. It's Elvis, yes, but it's also him. His tone has a softness, a heartfelt sincerity that Elvis never had. A Filipino soul woven through an American icon's melodies. The judges' table is alive with energy now. Heidi begins nodding along, tapping her finger to the rhythm. Howie Mandel looks almost stunned, shaking his head with a grin as if he's witnessing something unbelievable. The audience, too, begins to shift emotionally. You can see it in their faces, shock melting into admiration, skepticism turning into pure awe. Some record on their phones, others simply watch with open mouths. The camera zooms in on his face. His eyes are closed now, his expression filled with emotion. He sings not like an imitator, but like someone who feels every word, every longing, every ache, every whisper of the song's story. It's as though he's lived the lyrics, as though the song is telling his own journey. His body loosens, letting the music guide him, a subtle sway, a hand lifting slightly with the rise of the melody. He isn't performing to impress, it's happening naturally, effortlessly. The orchestra gently swells behind him, and as the song reaches its iconic, powerful chorus, he lifts his voice higher. The note rings out strong and clear, a wave of sound that fills every corner of the theater. The audience explodes, cheers, whistles, claps, all erupting simultaneously. Some stand up involuntarily. Others shout, "Wow!" even though the song isn't over yet. The reactions are uncontrolled, instinctive, emotional. Simon's expression finally breaks. A smile. A real one. He whispers something to Howie, who nods enthusiastically. Sofia turns to Heidi with huge eyes, mouthing, "He's amazing." But the Filipino Elvis doesn't seem to notice. He's deep in the music, his voice sliding effortlessly through the melody, carrying the weight of the song with grace and heart. There's no strain, no forcing, just pure golden tone. Every word feels like a gift. Every note feels like a moment meant to be remembered. As the bridge arrives, he softens his voice, allowing the emotion to seep through. It's tender, almost whisper-like, but full of warmth. People in the audience hold their breath, leaning in, afraid to miss a single second. Then comes the high note, the note that every Elvis performer either delivers with brilliance or fails with embarrassment. The Filipino Elvis inhales deeply, and then he lets it out. A soaring, breathtaking high note that's not only powerful but perfectly controlled. It grows stronger, fuller, richer, carrying a wave of emotion that sweeps through the room. The crowd goes wild. People stand, people scream, people wave their hands in the air, some cry, actual tears sliding down cheeks, because that moment feels bigger than the show. It feels like witnessing the birth of something extraordinary. The camera cuts to the balcony where a group of Filipinos wave tiny flags, jumping in excitement. They scream his name, proud beyond measure. It's a moment of culture, identity, and representation all bursting to life in a single second. On stage, the Filipino Elvis opens his eyes and sees everyone rising around him. The judges, the crowd, an ocean of applause crashing toward him. His lips tremble, but he keeps singing. He finishes the final lines with softness, letting the song land gently rather than with a loud, dramatic ending. It's elegant, it's respectful, it's confident. When the last note fades into the air, the silence that follows is magical. For one heartbeat, maybe two, the theater holds its breath, clinging to the tail end of that final note. Then, boom! The audience erupts into a deafening roar, a full theater standing ovation. The judges rise instantly, clapping above their heads. Heidi whistles loudly. Howie pumps his fist into the air. Sophia looks emotional, her eyes glistening. But Simon is standing too, arms crossed, head shaking in disbelief, a smile stretching wide across his face. He looks at the contestant as if he's just witnessed something historic, something unforgettable, something rare. The Filipino Elvis, overwhelmed, places a hand on his chest, his eyes well with tears as he bows deeply, humbled by the response. Backstage, the host is shouting with excitement, "He did it! Oh my God, he absolutely did it!" The moment is electric. A room roaring with joy, a performer overwhelmed with emotion, a dream turning into reality in front of millions. This isn't just singing. This isn't just Elvis. This is the moment the world realizes the Filipino Elvis isn't here to copy a legend. He's here to become one. The final note drifts into silence like a feather floating through the air, light, delicate, and unforgettable. For a split second, the world inside the America's Got Talent theater seems to pause entirely. No one moves, no one speaks. It's as if thousands of people collectively hold their breath, unable to release it after what they've just witnessed. And then it happens. The eruption. A tidal wave of cheers rolls through the theater, crashing against the stage with a force that feels almost physical. The sound is deafening, claps, shouts, whistles, and screams blending into one overwhelming roar of appreciation. The Filipino Elvis stands frozen at center stage, blinking through the blinding lights as the applause hits him. His chest rises and falls rapidly, not from exhaustion but from emotion, raw, unfiltered, and overwhelming. His lips part slightly, trembling with disbelief. He doesn't even bow at first. He can't. His body refuses to move. It's as if his mind is still processing what just happened. A standing ovation stretches in every direction. People leap out of their seats. Entire rows rise like waves. Some pump their fists in the air, others clap until their hands turn red. A few wipe tears from their eyes. The camera catches a close-up of an elderly man crying quietly, whispering, "That's Elvis. That's the closest thing I've ever heard." In the balcony, a group of Filipinos wave their flags with trembling hands, shouting proudly. One woman sobs into her friend's shoulder, overwhelmed with pride for her culture, her people, her country being represented with such magnificence. The host backstage watches with his mouth open. "That's insane," he whispers into his mic. "Absolutely insane." And then the judges stand. Heidi rises first, clapping above her head with her signature bright smile. Howie stands next, shaking his head with a grin that refuses to fade. Sophia stands too, both hands pressed dramatically over her heart as if she's afraid it might burst from excitement. Then Simon stands. The audience loses their minds all over again. When Simon Cowell, famous for his brutal honesty, his high standards, and his near-impossible-to-earn standing ovations, rises to his feet, it means one thing: history has been made. Simon claps slowly, deliberately, with a satisfied smile breaking across his face. It's not a polite smile. It's not a good job smile. It's the smile of a man who knows he has just witnessed one of the greatest auditions of the season, maybe of the entire show. When the applause finally begins to settle into a steady roar instead of a chaotic explosion, the Filipino Elvis takes a shaky breath and bows, deeply, respectfully. Emotion pours through the gesture. He places a hand over his chest, overwhelmed, trying to hold himself together. He looks up, eyes shining with tears, and meets the eyes of the judges. Simon speaks first. "Wow," he says, and the crowd erupts again at that single word. He raises a hand to calm them down, but even then, excitement crackles through the air. "That," he pauses, struggling for the right words. "That was one of the best Elvis renditions I have ever heard, ever." The crowd explodes again. The Filipino Elvis's shoulders shake slightly. He bites his lip, fighting tears that he doesn't want to fall on stage, but it's too late. A single tear escapes and slides down his cheek. Simon continues, voice full of genuine admiration. "You didn't imitate him. You honored him, and you did it with your own soul, your own voice. You are unbelievable." Sophia jumps in next, practically bursting with excitement. "I didn't expect that at all," she exclaims, gesturing wildly. "The moment you started singing, the whole room just transformed. I felt like we were watching something magical." Heidi leans forward, eyes glowing. "I got chills," she says. "Not once, not twice, throughout your entire performance. You have a gift, a real, special gift." Howie adds, "You took a legend's voice and turned it into something new, something yours. That's not easy. That's iconic." The Filipino Elvis listens, trembling, each compliment hitting him like a wave he wasn't prepared for. His hands grip the microphone tightly, as though it's the only thing keeping him grounded. For a moment, the arena quiets, anticipation building like electricity in the air. Everyone knows what could happen next. Everyone feels it. A golden buzzer moment doesn't always need an announcement. Sometimes the energy of the room tells the story before anyone presses it. Simon looks at his fellow judges, then back at the contestant. "You know," he starts slowly, a mischievous smile creeping onto his face. "There's something very special about you." The Filipino Elvis's breath catches. The audience senses it. They begin to scream, chant, stomp their feet. "Hit the buzzer! Do it! Golden buzzer! Golden buzzer!" Heart pounding, the Filipino Elvis looks from judge to judge, unable to breathe. His hands shake uncontrollably. His chest rises quickly. His eyes flash with hope and fear all at once. And then, Simon places his hand on the golden buzzer. The audience explodes. The Filipino Elvis gasps. His whole body jolts in shock. Before he can even process what's happening, a burst of golden confetti shoots from the ceiling, raining down like a storm of shimmering stars. He drops to his knees, overwhelmed. Tears stream down his face, tears of joy, disbelief, gratitude, and relief all at once. His hands cover his face as the confetti swirls around him, sticking to his shirt, his hair, his trembling hands. The judges cheer. The audience screams. It's chaos. Beautiful, emotional chaos. Backstage, the host rushes out onto the stage, grabbing the Filipino Elvis in a tight, emotional embrace. "You did it," he shouts over the roaring crowd. "You did it, man!" Confetti continues, to fall like a golden waterfall. The music swells triumphantly, filling the theater with the iconic golden buzzer theme. The Filipino Elvis looks up at the sky of gold raining over him, whispering something only he can hear, a thank you to God, to his family, to home, to the dream he carried across oceans. The judges stand watching him, proud, emotional, amazed. Simon calls out over the noise, "This is what America's Got Talent is all about." And in that moment, it's clear. This is not just a performance, not just an audition, not just a tribute to Elvis. This is a life-changing moment. A moment that will be replayed millions of times. A moment that will inspire singers, dreamers, Filipinos, and fans around the world. A moment that cements him not as an imitator, but as a legend in his own right. Under the golden rain, with the world cheering his name, the Filipino Elvis rises to his feet, a star born before thousands, shining brighter than anyone expected.